we heard he ran off on your yacht with like cocaine and hookers. Like
He went and put mouthwash in
crazy.
and he headed down there fully prepared to suck a dick.
I was told shortly after that moment, maybe an hour or two later, that 3 people had died. Oh shit, Fyre Festival is real. We're announcing a festival. We have X number of months to build a city in the middle of nowhere. How the fuck are we gonna do this?
Why Fyre Festival? How did that come to be? That because the Fyre app came first.
Fyre app came first, yeah.
How did you get from there to Fyre Festival?
So we had a townhouse space, basically this clubhouse, if you will, for Magnesis members. And one of the people working at the front desk, I lived a handful of blocks away, calls me one night and says, there's this guy here who is building some crazy things at Google, but he says he flies planes and wants to fly you. And I think he's telling you the truth. You have to come and meet him. So I ran over to the townhouse and met this guy, and like absolute genius, like one of the best like developers of AI I've ever met in my life. And you know, he's going to go on to, I think, change your world in very many ways. But he's like, listen, like I fly for fun. I have a bunch of friends who do the same thing. We should take a few planes and do a trip to the outer islands of the Bahamas for your Magnesis members. So we've been running these trips for years. And I found these outer islands to essentially be this like welcoming playground where there might be 10 people who live on the island who are just like so amazing and kind-hearted and warm. And once you bring 18, 20, 24 people there from New York, everybody kind of drops like their pretense. And if you connect them around these like almost like life-defying experiences and adventures, they really, really come together. So it was running these trips for a number of years when I literally brought like one of these childhood friends that I mentioned, and Fyre app had just launched. He said, hey man, you should totally do a music festival here for all Magnesis members. So that was a real person who came up with the idea, and that's how the Fyre Festival happened.
And where was the first lie told in the fundraising process? Was it on raising capital for the app? Was it capital for the Magnesis?
Yeah, so the Fyre Festival app didn't raise much money prior to like the festival announcement. We came up with a festival idea in September of 2016, shot and released that promotional video that I think a lot of people saw in December of 2016, and announced a April of 2017 like launch date. So the period was super, super short. So somewhere in like the weeks leading up to that December promotional video, I started lying. And that was lying to Fyre app's investors, lying to Fyre Festival's investors, lying about Magnesis's numbers. It all kind of hit when, oh shit, Fyre Festival is real. We're announcing a festival. We have X number of months to build a city in the middle of nowhere. How the fuck are we gonna do this? And that's just like set me off down that path. From
what I recall, there was 4 months between you announcing the festival and the festival happening. So you're going to the middle of nowhere. Mm-hmm. You've got to build sewage, infrastructure, basically a city from scratch at 25 years old without the capital to do it and without the experience in doing it in 4 months, in 120 days.
So stupid. So bad.
When did you realize it had all gone wrong?
Yeah, the night before so the festival was scheduled to be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for 2 weekends. We had to charter 2 737 planes and open up like a temporary terminal in Miami to basically fly everybody to the island. And given we only had 2 planes, we started to fly guests in early on a Thursday morning before the festival started on Friday. And late that Wednesday night, we were like rushing to get everything ready in time. And it's like walked into the room around midnight, and like the entire team was like slumped over on their chairs, like asleep on the couch, like heads like leaning on the kitchen table. And it seemed like all the energy at the same time just like left the entire team. And like almost like as if on cue, as if written by a movie, a storm rolls in like late that Wednesday night. And it's like, oh shit, like I've lost a team. You can't beat the weather, like, or we're not in a good spot.
Thinking back to the promo video that you made and a comment you made on the Full Send podcast about how the guy that buys the yachts and gets all the girls to come and then pays for it and subsidizes it is never a happy man.
Yeah.
This was a question I was pondering as I was reading about your story, is like, what are your insecurities? Because a lot of this seems to be driven by some kind of like deep insecurity to like prove others right, to be the man, to be the guy, to throw the best party, and the validation on a psychological level that must be giving some kind of insecurity, some hole it must be filling.
For sure. Yeah.
What are your insecurities and what were they?
Good question. Yeah. Thank you. I think it always kind of came back to the need to prove this path, right? Of like, I don't need school. I don't need the path that we were all taught as the right path. Like, my path is better and it leads to more interesting and more exciting life. And like, I think I always knew that, but I was so insecure and I wanted to have everybody else believe it. And I would get frustrated when people didn't share those same beliefs as me. So I think it's been part of the learning process as well, is to understand that everybody can't believe and like the same thing, and that's okay. And like, not taking it personally when that happens.
Have you got any insecurities around women?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just seems to be centered on this desire to like prove everybody wrong and like fuck the system and like, I'm still not quite clear in my mind where that came from. I'm like, was he bullied in school? Was there a teacher that said some shit to him that he couldn't do it? Was it his parents told him he couldn't do it?
I think part of it is like the curse of things never being enough, right? And I guess I don't know what the derivation of that is, but you know, whether it's business success or friendship success, where you live, your home, your possessions, like the love that someone has for you, especially during that time of my life, I was almost like jaded into always thinking that it wasn't enough. Like, if someone loved me, they didn't love me enough. Or if like I had a great like day at work, the day wasn't good enough. And I think it all kind of come back to like, maybe I'm thinking out loud here. Maybe it was like the early exposure at like 18 and 19 to like titans of industry, and then me comparing to them, where it's like not feasible to get there without, you know, 20, 30, 40 years of work that they had put in. But it's like, I wanted everything at that level and I wanted it now. So if you gave me this much, but it wasn't like where they were, I wasn't satisfied with it. So I think it was like the early exposure combined with like the impatience and need to have it.
There's this really well publicized scene where you're stood on a crate on the day of the festival. And you've got all of these party goers around you kind of screaming and asking questions, and some of them a little bit drunk because they'd been off sent to a bar on the other side of the island when you were trying to sort of buy yourself time. What was going on when you were stood on that crate, and what were you thinking and feeling? Were you shitting yourself?
I mean, right now I realize just like how bad my management skills were. At the time, I'm like, where the fuck is everybody? Like, they weren't all full-time employees. A lot of them were like local contractors or whatever, but we had almost 800 people, you know, the day of the festival, like working there. And I just felt like I was surrounded by these people. I couldn't find any of my team members. And I'm not going to name the publication, but I had a publication on the phone with me saying, you know, we heard you ran off on your yacht with like cocaine and hookers. Like, I don't have a yacht, never done cocaine. Like, there were no hookers. But they're also live streaming me on the cover of their webpage. So I'm like yelling at them. I'm getting yelled at by like, you know, the 50 or 100 concert goers right there. I just couldn't find anybody. But it just goes to show I just like didn't have the systems in place or the knowledge to manage everything. But that was my first reaction, is like, where the hell is everybody?
I heard you made the decision to cancel the festival when someone incorrectly told you that people had died.
Yeah, I was told shortly after that moment, maybe an hour or two later, that 3 people had died. Like, and thankfully, no one was physically hurt, like at all, to my knowledge. But I was told these like, elaborate stories.
Who told you that?
Team members, employees. And I think the reality was, looking back now, is that concert goers were like reading things on Twitter and then coming and running to employees and telling them this. But like, verified Twitter accounts is back in 17, where like announcing like gunshots fired, like people hit, like it was going all over Twitter that people were getting shot, things like that. And like, none of this was true. But by the time it got to me, the details were so vivid, I just didn't have like the ability to like step back, take a deep breath, recalibrate, and try to like think through the information. It was like, oh shit, people are dead. Okay, cancel this. Turn the planes around, get everybody home.
How did that feel when you heard that? If someone in my team came to me and said that I was putting on an event and 3 people were dead already.
I mean, I just freaked out and said, get everybody out of here, get everybody back to Miami. And that was the response. But yeah, I was I just didn't have the ability to like, okay, like what's actually happening? How can we prevent this? It was more of just like a quick knee jerk. All right, send everybody home. It's over.
One of the I think, legendary moments from the documentary, which I know you've been asked about and heard about before, is when Andy King says that you called him and asked him to suck a dick, literally suck a penis, to have the water imported because the border agents had held it up. What's the truth in that situation? Like, did you ask him to suck a penis?
I've heard so many variations of this story, and no, he was never ordered to go suck a guy's dick.
He literally put mouthwash in. He was going to suck some dick.
Yeah, that's news to me. I mean, I've obviously heard the story many times, but I think the comment was in jest, like, go suck this guy's dick, get this water, like whatever it takes. More of like, go suck up to him and get the water released. Like, do anything beyond paying this guy, right? Like, you can't pay the customs people. So like, go do whatever it takes and just convince him that our festival is going to fail if people can't drink water.
He's obviously a gay man, and the border agent was gay, right?
I think so, yeah.
So the assertion in the documentary was because he was gay, you'd asked him to suck a dick if he had to, and he took that literally. So he says he went and put mouthwash in, and he headed down there fully prepared to suck a dick.
I think that makes for good TV, but yeah, I certainly don't recall it happening like that, unfortunately.
If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favor. Become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.